So this is the Ampfinity room, or it's the amp room that's in the basement. I thought I'd do a longer video in here as there's just so many cool amps to try out. You have to book a slot, but it's really easy to do, and then you can grab a guitar and play at a reasonable volume down here and really hear what an amp can do. So in the room, there's like this small recording setup in the corner here, and then various kind of modeling or profiling devices are on the counter here. So we've got Tonex over here. Right next to that, it's the Hotone Ampero series. So the stage there, I think, is that the studio? I'm not sure. And then the Voodoo Labs, pedal switcher, Neural QC, the Helix, well, not the Helix Stadium, but the actual previous Helix, the Headrush over there. So over here, some old favorites. We have the JVM 410H, and just below that, we have the new Plexi Modified, which, yeah, pretty loud amp, I think. I didn't get to try these, but it's nice to look at. So the JCM 800 Modified over there, and on top of that, the Silver Jubilee reissue. Then over here, a pair of EVH Mini Launchbox 5153s, and then their bigger brothers next to that. The iconic amp, this is the EL34 edition. And over here, the fabled Synergy Marshall. There's been some great demos on that already. I'm really liking the sound of that, as it has basically like a Marshall, JMP vibe, 2 channels, so you can get that kind of cleanish sound out of a Marshall, and then a more gained up version of that. The Friedman amps over here. So we've got the Jose in the middle, and I'm not sure the names of the one on top. So that's the Jose amp in the middle, and just below that it's the Phil X amp that you might have seen online. So the Jose amp, it was released I think earlier this year, and there's been some great demos on that as well. And then next to that, we've got the, I believe it's the Dirty Shirley over there. And then Hairy Brown Eye, I think, as well. Feel free to correct me in the comments, of course. And here, one of my bucket list amps, the Soldano SLO. And then on top, the Tone King, I think, Royalist, if I'm not mistaken. And now, this is the crazy part of how all of this is kind of set up, and I think you need something like this to really make the most of it and make it easy. So it's this huge rack, it's maybe like a 24 unit rack with loads of these Ampeti or Ampeti amp switches and cab switches. So as you can see, there's a ton of them, and the most important part was that tuner on the floor. And along with the Fryette power station means that you can easily switch between the amps, cabs, and also control the volume. Here we have the PV Invective, and one of the craziest kind of foot switches I've seen for an amp, as there's so many functions on there and control, along with the matching cab below. Next to that, Old Faithful PV 6505, the 6505 2, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. And then the mini PV Invective and the really nice looking 14 Evil Pumpkin below that. And then we have this wall of orange, or at least the orange cab, the OR30, and then their new kind of, I think it's Jewel Baby, Gain Baby, and all those offerings. And then next to that, one of my favorite amps of all time, I have the VHT Deliverance 60, and this is the Deliverance 2, it's the 120, so with the new voicing, improvements and all that, and that's, I'd say it's also a bucket list amp for me to try and see, but I really like the one I already own already. Next to that, we have all these Engels, so like their smaller lunchbox series with the Steve Morse Fireball, the brand new Ravager IR, which you might have seen online now. And then the flagship amps, which I think is the best way of putting it. So we've got the Powerball there, we've got the Fireball, I think we've got some signature amps over here, and I think the Steve Morse there, if I'm not mistaken. And then the wonderful Lishlem Audio Prometheus from my good friend Daniel, along with, I think it's the 8x12 cab, if I'm not mistaken. That was here last year as well at Guitar Summit. And yeah, you really have to try one of those out if you get the chance. And then moving along, we have the Zuta amps. You can check Sonic Drive Studios out on YouTube for a really good video of this amp, as well as many others, of course. The Driftwood Purple Nightmare, which you might be familiar with. The Purple Nightmare in a different finish, really kind of cool to see. And then the Jupiter Effects, I think that's the 200 watt, or is it 250 watt behemoth of an amp? And next to that, an amp I'm not too familiar with, but it's a Highlight Custom 100. I'm guessing it's probably like a high watt clone, but looked really nice. Next to that, the Black Star, it's the Doug Aldrich signature amp, the Ruby. And then the Tube Workshop 18 watt Marshall, kind of Jose based, I think. And then the Tube Workshop Lulis next to that. As said, you could have tried all of these amps out really easily. Take a guitar of your choice, there were guitars there, along with a left-handed guitar, I think, as well. You just had to sign up and then go at the allotted time. But it was a really kind of cool space and pretty chilled out in general. And it was really cool to be able to see all these amps and, you know, try them out if you want.